Ready to revolutionize your higher ed marketing game?
Yes.
Well, then don't miss out on Element 451's Engage Summit, June 27 and 28. Explore the cutting edge world of education and AI technology and unleash your creativity like never before. Register today at engage.element451.com and use promo code EdUp50 for $50 off. The global gathering for educators and institutions is here. Anthology Together is where inspiration, connection, networking, and EdTech insight and innovation intersect into the premier event destination for the global education community. Registration is open. Go to anthologytogether.com. Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. Dr. Joe Solucio back with you on another episode. And I'm excited to tell you today, I'm proud to tell you today that Commencement, you know, the book that I co-wrote with Kate Colbert, it's called Commencement, the Beginning of a New Era in Higher Education. We have sold thousands of copies of it, and one of the institutions, their president came on not too long ago, and right after I got off the recording with him, he ordered 400 copies of the book for his faculty and staff. And that's where I go, wow, we're really making a difference to get this book in front of people when our presidents who we interview see such value in it to give to their faculty and staff. So I want to thank those of you out there that have gotten a copy. Of course, there's so much going on in and around higher education today, and we like to bring amazing people to the microphone that either have something in common or have a common interest in something or whatever, just a need to meet. And we've got two of those people with us today. I've got now a second-time co-host with me, which means I do have to send him the mug. I've got a lot of mugs still to send out, which means I need more co-hosts, but there'll be one less now that he's on. So it means I got to get his address and send him the mug, which says co-host on it, of course.
Wow.
So he'll get to add it to the beautiful bookshelf back there that has the name of his institution on it.
It will go in a prominent spot.
Yes, he is the one and only Jordy Hyland. He is the president and CEO of the American College of Education. Jordy, what's going on?
Not much. I love helping out, and I didn't even know I'd get a mug. So that's
you didn't know you'd get a mug,
and
you still came back.
Yes.
Yeah, you still came back. That's why I want to give it to you. Some people come back just for the mug. It is a nice mug. I'll be honest. They don't really care about me, but they want the mug. So I appreciate you, Jordy, and we're gonna send you the mug so you have it for that bookshelf. And the next time you come on, I'm gonna go, hey, look at that mug back there, Jordy. You know.
Awesome.
That's called
it will be in a place of prominence, so you'll see it right over my head.
Right. Product placement for the EdUp Experience. Yeah. That's the only way we survive here at this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. The only way we survive. But we do bring on great guests. We've got another one for you today. Here she is. I'm going to bring in right now. Her name is Jenny Jordan. She's the executive director of TeachStart. Jenny, what's happening?
Hey, I'm excited to be here. Excited to chat about our work and our efforts to bring more folks into teaching.
Oh, isn't that something that is worth talking about? And like one of the hardest things to talk about these days is we see, I don't know, the teaching industry ultimately disruptive on many levels. But before we get into what I think is going to be a riveting conversation today, Jenny, what is TeachStart? So lay the foundation for us. What is it? What do you do? How do you do it? And we'll go from there.
Yeah. So we started TeachStart because we really believe that there are a lot of people out there who can be incredible teachers, but for whom the current pathways into the profession just don't work.
Yes.
In a teacher shortage, we're post-pandemic, we have really high rates of teacher attrition, and all of that is true. It is also true, though, that there are a lot of people out there raising their hand saying, I want to serve my community in this way. I want to teach. I want a job that is a solid pathway into the middle class, but I can't get in because the way we've constructed teaching in this country is very tough. The training is very expensive. The pathways in are prohibitive to folks who are first generation college, often folks who are people of color. The folks that we most need teaching our students are often blocked out. So that's the problem that we're trying to solve. TeachStart solves that by recruiting educators to work for a full year as substitute teachers or paraprofessionals. And during that year, they get a debt-free teaching credential. So instead of incurring $60K in debt, which is the average teacher debt, they get a credential debt-free. And they got to work during that year with benefits and paid time off and paid time to train so they could support their families.
Amazing.
We're excited to have a way that is supporting people who are working adults facing all of the financial challenges that working adults face and help them become the teachers that they want to be and that our kids need.
Wow. Well, Jordy will probably know more about this than me, but I do know that there is a lot of, it is very hard to become a teacher, especially because it feels like each state has its own, like you need this state requirement, or you have to be a resident of this state or have been in this state for this long or get this credential or that credential. It can be very confusing, especially for somebody that's moving states or otherwise, but even just getting into it, there's certain classes that you have to take or certain programs that you have to take. I will tell you at Lindenwood, where I work at Lindenwood University, we've had people come out, we have elementary education and so on, and they'll go, oh, I didn't take this one course that I needed to get this certification, and now I can't go into the field and teach like I want to. How did I miss this course? It's like, whoa, there's a lot there. How do you work through this? Because boy, isn't it just designed to keep people out?
That's exactly right. There's the financial barriers of having to go to school and incur all this debt, but there's also these sort of logistical or bureaucratic barriers that you're talking about, where it can literally be one course. We had one educator who was going to be blocked out because they had spelled their middle name wrong on one form. And so
Yikes!
they couldn't get a permit for that school year. We were able to help them and step in and get them able to teach in schools, but those are the kinds of barriers that without support, people are blocked out of a classroom. So we're both saying we have this teacher shortage, come teach, but then we're creating these systems that keep people from actually doing that. Thinking of one educator in particular, her name is Jasmine. She always wanted to be a teacher her whole life. She was first generation college, graduated college, and just like you just shared, didn't have quite the right credentials to actually be able to teach, but decided to not let that derail her dream, became a preschool teacher, did that for a decade, but then reached a point where she couldn't support her family on that, was ready to leave teaching until she found TeachStart. And we were able to help her take all of her great experience, both being from the community and having taught preschool. And now she's teaching elementary school in the community she grew up in. So we're really grateful that we're able to serve people like her. And I know there are so many other people like Jasmine who want to be teachers and haven't yet found a program like ours and that are being stuck by these really small things that really shouldn't be getting in people's way.
Jordy, I'm going to pass it to you, but let me just soapbox for a minute as a dad of two kids. I just go, how in the universe could we possibly pay teachers what we pay them? And I mean, these are people that literally teach our kids every day. And I will tell you, if you think your job is hard, I feel like if I had to go, and I haven't done it, but if I had to go teach a class of kids all day, every day, that would be harder than any job I've ever held. And so we give them the hardest job on earth. I can't even watch my own two kids. And by the way, you got to give them knowledge, and they're like the keeper of your children while they're there. They work in this insane environment now from a safety perspective, which is compromised, and why people go into schools and do the things that they do from a violence perspective. But it's like, why do we pay them so low, and why is it so hard to recognize this profession? Jordy, I'll just stop soapboxing, but it's agonizing to me. It feels like there's no common sense in it.
No, for sure. And those are all very valid points, Joe. So Jenny, I love what you do, and I think you're doing really important work at TeachStart. Why do you think so this earn as you learn concept, which is so valuable and really helps open up doors for others that may not other have opportunities? Why do you think there aren't more programs like yours that facilitate that?
Yeah, I think we tend in our education systems to underestimate and underappreciate our substitute teachers. The average student receives a year of instruction from a substitute by the time they graduate high school across their education. And 2/3 of those subs have no training. So I'm also a parent. When I think about my kid getting a year of their teaching is from someone untrained, it's pretty wild. But we just don't think of subs as a core part of our system. And so I think what we've unlocked here is saying substitutes are really crucial. Substitutes deserve training and respect and professional wages with benefits and paid time off. And those substitutes are so well positioned to become full-time teachers. So let's solve two problems here. Let's recruit substitutes. Let's train them. Let's get them ready to be awesome in schools today. and then let them become full-time teachers tomorrow, so that hopefully as the flywheel keeps turning, we actually need fewer subs because we have enough full-time teachers in the classroom.
Oh, yeah.
Do you
That makes
think,
sense.
by the way, I don't know about you guys, but when there was a substitute teacher that didn't teach that well, I celebrated those moments. It was the ones that actually made me learn. There's, oh, it's this teacher, she's going to make us do homework. That's when you know you have a good substitute, is they stick to whatever the curriculum is that they actually make the kids work, right?
Right. It's not just a movie or whatever, gym time.
Go ahead, Jordy.
Oh, great. So yeah, that all made perfect sense, Jenny. I think one of the exciting things about what you're doing is you're obviously facilitating career pathways, and I think in with substitute teachers and with the teaching profession, those expectations may not be there. So you're creating a new way of thinking about the profession, which I think, to your point, will allow more people to come into it and also stay in it. Is it ever difficult to communicate that or to get that path, that concept about career pathways, not only to prospective learners but to employers?
Yeah, I think often because our school systems are so stretched, they're focused on just the immediate crisis right in front of them. So sometimes that's not figuring out your pipeline of teachers for a year from now. But I deeply believe that the crises in front of us and in front of our schools will be more manageable and potentially diminished if we can get enough competent, trained, diverse adults in the building. I'm thinking about one educator I know who's taught for about a decade, Mr. Galindo, who told me that in the average school year, his elementary school had about 10 fights a year. But now with the teacher shortage, they're having 10 a week.
Oh my gosh.
If you're the principal, it makes sense that you're really just focused on keeping the fires out and not, allowing things to completely fall apart. But what that means, if we're not focusing on recruiting great substitutes, recruiting great teachers for next year, is that this vicious cycle will just continue. More and more teachers quit. The number of fights become more and more. As you can imagine, it just becomes an untenable situation. And so we need to create systems that support our schools and our school leaders in tackling the problems in front of them, while also leveraging the talent in their schools, like subs and paraprofessionals, to build a pipeline for the future.
Jenny, what is it that, when we talk, you hear everybody say it, there's a shortage of teachers, but COVID obviously did some of that and whatever, but okay, we get by that. And now, is it pay? Is it barrier to entry? Is it the whole tenure? And what? Because I feel like there's a lot of people that say I want to be a teacher, and then in post-secondary ed, I see them go into other majors. Like they start out thinking they want to be a teacher, and they end up doing something else related, but it could be clinical and mental health, or it could be higher education or something. The elementary education. It's like there's this branch that they don't stay on, and they end up being siphoned off. It can't be. It's like it can't be about money yet because they haven't even figured out how to get there. Is it just barrier? Is it just too hard?
I think this is a great question, and you're right. It's not just the pandemic. We've seen a 20% drop in teacher prep enrollment in the last decade, so predating the pandemic, right? I think the crux of the problem is that we've designed pathways into teaching in a way that doesn't work for this generation.
True.
It used to be that you would become a teacher and you'd stay in your same district for your whole career, and that was your career. We know that that's not how millennials or Gen Z approaches their careers. They want flexibility. They want to be able to career change. They want to be able to move. And so we need more pathways that give people the training they need, that still get students the teachers that they deserve in terms of readiness, but that let folks enter in ways that are more lightweight and can be explored during adulthood. So our average age of our teachers is 32. A quarter of them are parents. These are folks who didn't decide to be a teacher when they were 17 or 18 enrolling in their college, but for many reasons have decided this is now what they want to do with their lives and how they want to serve their community. And so we need more options for folks to enter when they come to this realization later in life.
Yeah, and the reason I bring up the pay before I kick it back to you, Jordy, because going into it, somebody that says I want to be a teacher, they have a pretty good idea of what the professional environment's going to look like and what the pay is, and they know that, and they still want to become a teacher, which, I mean, the passion, it's like nurses and teachers and they're policemen and policewomen and firemen and firewomen. It's like there's some careers that are just the best. They're the most noble. But then you get in there and there is something to earnings that keeps you in it, which is something else that has to be addressed. Is that being addressed out there, Jenny, or is that we're not even there yet?
The earnings piece.
The earnings, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're definitely right that even for folks who become a teacher, the earnings are a barrier, particularly when coupled with student debt. So Stanford did a study a few years ago that found that in the Bay Area, student debt was the #1 driver of teachers quitting, of attrition.
Yikes.
So, it's obviously harder to fix the salary issues more globally and across the board. But I think what we can fix is finding debt-free earn and learn pathways like ours and other models that I'm excited about that allow folks to become teachers without incurring that debt that is driving them out, given the salaries.
Don't settle for average marketing strategies. Join us at the Element 451 Engage Summit, June 27 and 28, and discover how to harness the power of AI technology in higher ed marketing. Connect with industry leaders, explore cutting-edge technologies, and future-proof your marketing strategy. Use promo code EdUp50 for $50 off. Register now at engage.element451.com. Their premier EdTech event is right around the corner.
Epic.
Anthology Together is the destination for visionaries, educators, and learners ready to unleash the power of education technology. EdUp will be on site for the thought-provoking keynotes, peer-driven discussions, and unparalleled networking opportunities. We guarantee you will leave inspired and connected. You don't want to miss it. Book your tickets to Nashville for AT23, July 17th to July 20th. Register today at anthologytogether.com. Yeah, Jordy.
Yeah, great. Jenny, one of your examples earlier was about a student that faced a lot of, it sounded like bureaucratic barriers. And it sounded like your team provided excellent support in helping them navigate the barriers. Do you see sort of systemic paths to reducing those barriers, or what do you think are the, given that there's so many shortages, are there other ways that those bureaucratic challenges can be reduced? Do you see any pathways there?
Yeah, it's tough because we never want to say that we want to sort of lower the bar, right? That's not what we want to be about. We want to continue to hold a high bar for entering educators. And a lot of the bureaucratic hurdles are not about holding a high bar. They really do just feel like hurdles. So I think some of the ways in which permitting happens can shift. I think some of the ways in which the landscape to earn your teaching credential is so complicated state by state can shift. So the fact that it's I know an educator who taught for a decade in Texas, wanted to move home to LA where she was from, and it became so complicated, she just gave up and got a different career.
What the heck is going on?
So, to take folks, that is our low-hanging fruit. They've already taught, they love teaching, they're experienced, but we've made it so difficult for folks to move state to state. And as I was saying before, millennials, Gen Z, they do move to state. They need that flexibility. So we need to build systems where there is more reciprocity across states.
What is it like work? I mean, so let's step back. You go to TeachStart. I want to give some stats from your website, and then like you to talk a little bit about your geographic impact right now and where you see yourself going. But some stats from your website: 200,000 teachers are the shortage projected by 2025. So we're going to be short 200,000 teachers. You think about that number, and it's mind-boggling. 30% of substitute vacancies are unfilled each day. So 30% of classrooms don't end up with a substitute. And what the impact is on operations of a school not to have somebody in the classroom. 33% teachers are in or entering into retirement age. So that's creating the shortage, I bet. And then 20% are teachers of color versus 80% of the students being students of color. Wow. those are some impactful stats. Talk about TeachStart geographically. Where are you? Where's your expansion going? How do I get it in my state? Is what somebody's thinking right now.
Yeah. So right now we're in California and Arizona. Definitely thinking about expansion and excited about expansion. The thing that we need to go somewhere new is funding. Getting our operation set up and running in a new place is costly. Our model is financially standalone once we're operating, because we're tapping into the existing funds that schools already spend on substitute teachers, which are, of course, a pre-existing need. We're just using that money smarter. But we do need funds to get up and running in a new place. So that's the main thing. And then we need to, come up the learning curve around the local context, like I was saying before, around the how challenging it can be to go state to state, figuring that out. That piece we can navigate, and that's what our team is expert in, is figuring out the local permitting and credentialing landscape.
That's wonderful.
Just with the some of the stats that Joe mentioned on your website, and the shortages, is it ever difficult to I guess articulate or convey the negative impact of the shortages to administrators and just the sort of day-to-day reality of the shortages, or do you find that's not a challenge?
I think, unfortunately, people really deeply get the impact of the shortages because they are so painful. So, I am working with a school district where the head of HR, instead of doing their important job, about once a week is having to go teach in a school because they can't find a sub.
Wow.
Obviously, teaching is crucial work, but that's not what that person is best equipped to do to move the system forward and solving this shortage. Talk to principals who are having to do the same, of step in and lead a classroom all day instead of doing their work. I know a principal who canceled any professional development for his educators for this year because he couldn't find substitutes. So that means his teachers are getting no training to better support their students because they can't find subs.
Wow.
People are really seeing this and seeing the pain point of the substitute teacher shortage and the broader teacher shortage. There's just a hard time finding solutions.
What can we do as individuals? You're in 2 states. There's a lot of other states out there. How do we start to, I don't know, break down the barriers of getting kids or adults into teaching and keeping them there? Is there like a foundational point of which you work from? If you're going to choose to go into another state, what's state number 3? How do you choose that? Is it the progressiveness in that state when it comes to breaking down teacher barriers? Is it the licensing is easier, or the fee structure? Or how do you look at a state and go, we need to be there?
Yeah. We want to be in the places where there are a lot of folks saying, I want to be a teacher, but for whom it's too hard. So there actually are some states where it's not that challenging to become a teacher, where I think we could argue that the bar is too low. We want to go to the places where the bureaucracy is so complicated and the financial costs are so high that people need the boost that we offer.
I like that. It's a good way to look at it. So what does this look like for you? What's your strategic plan saying about TeachStart? What's the next 5 years look like for you?
Yeah. The first thing is we want to significantly grow our impact. We want to be serving 2,500 educators a year in the next 5 years. And we think we can get there. As I said, we've recruited nearly 300 educators just about a year in, and we've done that truly in some pretty low lift ways, which I think is proof of our belief that there are folks who want to be teachers if we can make it possible for them. And so I believe that we can find those educators and help them up the path. So that's the main thing, is grow our impact in that way. We want to do that in deep partnership with our schools and with our communities. We want to be the go-to talent partner for the schools that we serve. We want to work with our principals to ensure that the educators that we're training are ready to come in and be successful in their schools.
How do you, before you go, I just want to ask quick, Jenny, to you, how do you get to this point? I mean, what happened with your background? Typically when you get into something like this, there is a trigger point where, somebody goes, you know what, I've got to change this. Can you talk about your background just a little bit, and what was that trigger point for you to get into doing something like TeachSmart?
Yeah. So I've been in education my whole career. Was most recently in the teacher recruitment and training space. And what I was seeing was that we had these folks that would say yes to becoming a teacher. Like you were talking about before, Joe, people who maybe start down the pathway of teacher college. But these folks got all the way through a selection process, an onboarding process, and then would quit, the day before training or the day before school. They were often educators of color, often first generation college. And so what that told me was that there are people who want to be teachers, but when the rubber hits the road, when it becomes really real from a bureaucratic or financial standpoint, we're losing them. And so that's what sparked this journey of asking the question of how could we design a model that lets those people enter the classroom, the people who are saying, I want to teach. We don't have to go out and convince somebody who's planning on being an investment banker to teach. We can take the sort of captive population of folks that are saying, I want to teach, I want to serve my community this way, and help them and overcome those barriers.
And when you have folks like that already want to get in, but they clearly need some mentoring and support, and you've given some examples of the type of support that your organization provides. Can you speak a bit about just how important the mentoring side of things are for those individuals?
Yeah, I think it's crucial. I think it's crucial on a few measures. One is just helping folks navigate the bureaucratic complexities. I was chatting to someone who works at the California State Department of Education who said, you all are like the UX or the user experience for becoming a teacher, So
Beautiful.
I think there's an element of just UX needed for becoming a teacher in most states where it's quite complicated. That's the first line of mentoring and support that we provide. And then the second is around entering this new career that is incredible and rewarding, but also challenging. So we provide training that I'm really proud of. Our educators have given it really positive feedback that helps people be ready with the core skills that they'll need. And then we follow that up with someone who's working with them and supporting them on everything from, I had this challenge with my students today, to how do I talk to my principal about this other challenge, to, gosh, I'm really struggling to make it work to pursue my credential and raise my kids and teach, help me brainstorm some ideas.
It's a rapidly, go ahead, Jordy. I see you're coming back in.
No, I'm just going to say thank you and pass it back to you.
Yeah, I mean, this is one heck of an industry right now. And there's do you have because I talk about it with my wife. I mean, there's schools have been a place where things that happen in schools are not supposed to happen in schools, intruders and, all these things. Does that dissuade the teaching profession right now? Because schools, no matter what kind of schools they are, seem to be these, we talk about it in higher ed all the time too. It's like somebody's on campus. What is that going to mean for us? And, is there a safety vibe that we have to get over now to be in education?
Mm-hmm. Gosh, that hits so close to home. As a parent myself, I haven't heard that. I haven't heard from our aspiring educators a lot of questions or concerns about that, but I do have to wonder what the impact will be longer term if we can't sort of figure this out as a country. So it's not emerged yet in our conversations with folks, but I think you're probably right that it could be latent and make yet another barrier to growing the workforce that we need for our students.
Yeah, if you think and the reason why this is such an important conversation is you actually think of what mentally you have to work through to become a teacher, mm-hmm. and the environmental aspects, the bureaucratic aspects, to end up on the backside being paid on the lower end of a scale to do things that are way harder than if you want to go become an accountant, or do something. It's like there's just a different, I don't know, we make it really hard to do a really important job. And that's why I was so excited to talk with you today, Jenny, because it's the I don't know, awareness. It's like, hey guys, if we don't figure this out, no one's going to teach your kids anymore. And then what are you going to do? Oh, they're going to be homeschooled. You're not going to be able to work. You're going to be home. Have you ever tried to homeschool before? You remember how much you sweat during the pandemic when you tried to teach your kids? I do. I was in a panic sweat trying to tell my 5-year-old, 4-year-old what to do. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it for 10 minutes. It's like, we better figure it out. And I don't think there's a wide adoption around how critical of an issue this is, or is there?
My hope after the pandemic was this will finally be the moment where we see how crucial teachers are. I don't know that that's happened, but I do believe that there's energy and urgency around the importance of teachers. I think people who do this work in and around schools are often prone to chasing the next shiny object, the next shiny solution. And I'm feeling grateful and gratified that it does feel in the last year that our community has really come together and said, it's teachers. Teachers are the thing. We need to return to the root, which is supporting the people in front of our kids, finding great people in front of our kids, finding diverse people to be in front of our kids, and giving them great training. And it does feel like we're coalescing again as a movement on that being the crux. And so I do feel grateful for that and grateful to get to do that sort of work.
It's like it's like the advertising is, remember how you felt during COVID when you had to teach your own kids.
Right.
Right. I remember having a conversation with my wife because both my kids were little kids and they're on Zoom and we're trying to get them to sit in the chair, just sit in the chair to be on the computer for 10 minutes, please. And we were talking about, because we were in California, and California is expensive, right? If you live in California, there's lots of expense, and gas is like $8 a gallon. And we were talking about groceries, and I'm like, don't buy milk anymore. Let's get a tutor instead. Like, I would rather go starving than have to do this myself. I would pay a professional. I can't do it. And you remember that feeling, and you go, okay, I remember how important teachers are. It's like, it's just very easy to forget.
Yeah. They are crucial and require training. And I deeply believe that teaching is the most rewarding career one can have. And to get folks there, they need training and support.
You know a little bit about that stuff, don't you, Jordy?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, my organization also focuses on that. Jenny, so clearly there were challenges with parents at home trying to teach their children, as Joe pointed out. But I know with your organization, what you're trying to do is create great teachers and for them to have an impact. Can you talk a bit about your view about what makes a great teacher and what impact a great teacher can have?
Good question.
I love that question. One of my favorite things to do when I'm in a gathering of people is to ask them to go around the room and share a story about a teacher who impacted them. And you always hear incredible stories. And just walk away feeling motivated. So I think a great teacher is one who builds deep relationships with their students. I think a great teacher is one who knows their content well and who knows what kids need to master that content. I think a great teacher is one who knows how to do this work in a way that sustains themselves for the long term. We see a lot of teachers come in and burn themselves out because of the challenges in front of them. I think great teaching requires being able to hold your students' needs alongside of your needs, which isn't always easy to do.
That's great. Thank you. And can you just talk a bit about so someone that can do all of that well, how does that impact our not only our school systems, but our communities in a positive way?
Let me talk about one of our educators from our pilot year who's teaching down in LA. So this educator is from the community that they're serving in, teach again in that community that they were serving in, taught high school math, and did so in such a way that really built relationships with students. What they shared is that students were coming to them and saying, I've never had somebody believe in me before that I could do math. I didn't think I could be good at math. I didn't think that this was something that was possible for me or in my future. And though they were sort of, quote, just a sub and not their primary teacher, just their presence in that school, that impact in that school, I think was really transformative for kids. And that person then was hired to teach full-time the next year as a math teacher, which is especially important because of the shortage area of math teachers. And then for these students to have someone who believes in them. I had one of the students say to me, it just really seems like he likes me, which it feels like such a small thing, but for a kid to have that and for that to be something that a kid doesn't typically have, particularly in a math setting, I think is really powerful.
Excellent.
I do want to say one thing too. You can't save every teacher who's transitioning out of teaching. There are a lot of teachers that transition into the workforce, and teaching experience is very valuable in any context, any business context. So I just want to put that out there for anybody who's hiring to look at teachers. If they've left the profession, they've left the profession, but it doesn't mean that they can't kill it for your institution. So we want to obviously keep them in teaching, but we also want to give teachers opportunity if they decide to leave the profession. And sometimes you pigeonhole them, oh, they're a teacher, and can't do, just, oh no, it's grit in there, some grit and perseverance in there to teach a classroom full of kids. I just have tons of respect for teachers because I remind myself how I could never do it. I could never be a teacher. I know it. I would fail instantly. It's one of the jobs where, people ask you, you could do this, right? Yeah, I could do that. I could see myself. Yeah, I could figure out how to weld something if I had to. Could you go teach a classroom full of students? Absolutely not. Unequivocally, no chance in hell that I could do that effectively. I would fail immediately. And so I have so much respect for those that can succeed. And having kids I think gives you the extra oomph. So what do you, Jenny, tell us what we haven't talked about when it comes to TeachStart. Anything coming up, anything that you wanted us to know today that you didn't get a chance to say? An open microphone for you.
Yeah. Well, one thing that is crucial in our work and as we grow is our support for paraprofessionals. So we've spoken a lot about substitutes. Paraprofessionals are those folks who are working one-on-one with students, often in a special education setting. We believe that just like substitutes, paraprofessionals are under-supported and under-leveraged as a pipeline for talent. So really excited also about, as we grow, tapping into that market of paraprofessionals. But I think the main thing that I just want to leave folks with is optimism and hope for our students and for our profession of teaching. Because again and again, what I hear when I get on the phone with our current educators or our prospective recruits is deep excitement about this work. I've had folks burst into tears saying, I didn't know I could be a teacher. I always wanted to be, and I thought that wasn't possible for me because of my life circumstance. There are a lot of people out there, and we can find a way to bring them into the profession and into our schools.
Epic.
Tell us what you see for the future of teacher education, Jenny. What does the future hold?
Yeah. I think we need more programs like ours that allow folks to get their feet wet in real schools with real students early. It feels crucial to me that people can try out this profession before they're locked into it. It's crucial both for the educators and for students. We don't want people teaching who accrued 60K in debt, so now they're sort of trapped. We want people doing this work because they deeply believe in it and feel called to do it. So that to me is one really important piece, is more experiences, whether it's our model or something like a teacher residency, where folks get real experience in front of students.
Nothing like experience you gotta know it. You gotta try it. You have to figure it out if it's for you, and then you'll be even better at the job. Wow, I love this conversation. I appreciate you so much coming on the podcast, Jenny. Jordy, any final words from you?
No, just really enjoyed the conversation and learned a lot. So thank you very much, Jenny.
Yeah, thank you both.
That's my guest co-host right there. He is the one and only Jordy Highland. He is the president and CEO of the American College of Education. He knows a thing or two about education as well. That's why he's the president and CEO at that university. Somebody that knows a lot about teacher education is our guest today. She's your guest today. Her name is Jenny Jordan. She's been amazing. She's the executive director of TeachStart. And please check them out. What's the website, Jenny, and how do we find you if we want to talk more about teacher education?
Yeah, so we're at teachstart.org. That's our website. Check us out, learn more, and you can shoot me an email. I'm jenny.j@teachstart.org.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp'd. Experience Element 451's Engage Summit Conference this June and get ready to unleash the power of AI in higher ed marketing. Deep dive into how this emerging tech will revolutionize the education landscape. From personalized student engagement to turbocharging your marketing efforts with AI, these sessions are guaranteed to help you smash your enrollment goals. Connect with like-minded professionals, explore cutting-edge edtech products and services, and leave with the knowledge to supercharge your institution's growth. Don't wait. Register now at engage.element451.com and seize your chance to lead the pack in the AI-driven education revolution. Use promo code EdUp50 for $50 off your registration. Now, what can you expect at AT23? That's Anthology Together 2023. Well, expect to look into the future, expand your network, and explore solutions with experts. You're going to hear from industry thought leaders. You're going to connect with countless opportunities and people representing different institutions across the globe. You might even get to test out some new tech and help drive future anthology technology. That's right, Anthology Together. Registration is open at anthologytogether.com.